Hey guys, welcome to Practice Academy. Today we'll do an important tense, that is past continuous tense, and it is used quite often in our day-to-day life. So learn it well. All the best. So let's get to it. So as we did in past present continuous tense, so present continuous tense is also called present progressive, and it's the same case here. Past continuous is also called past progressive. So it doesn't matter what we call it. What matters the most is that why we use it and how we use it. Okay, so there are various types here, and so we are going to cover three types. Before we cover the types, I would like to what criteria means. Criteria means the reasons why we are using this particular tense, why not those other 11 remaining tenses. All right, so okay, so now let's start it. So it refers to a continuing activity or state that was happening at some particular point in the past. Okay, so why do we use past continuous tense when we are talking about past? First of all, past. Okay, and not just past, something which was happening. Okay, something which was continuing at that time of that past. Okay, so now if we talk about the example sentence, it says I was reading a book. Okay, so suppose I say, I ask you, I called you yesterday, but you did not pick up my phone. Why? So you can say, oh sorry, I was reading a book. Okay, so that means that. Okay, so now about type 2 criteria. Something was happening in the past when something else interrupted it. Something else interrupted. This is important. Interruption means when something was going on, so somebody maybe entered the place, somebody maybe rang the bell, somebody maybe interfered with something. Okay, so that is called interruption. Interruption actually means interference. Okay, but that is not this is not exactly meant that way, but it is, you will come to know later. Okay, so do remember that if we are using this type, so we have to use past continuous along with simple past. All right, only then will we able to come to know that it is interruption. All right, so here we have signal words. If we are using these two, so we will have to use these. Generally we use these. Okay, mainly we use these words. So what are those words? When and while. All right, when and while. All right, so you will know how to use. These are actually connectors, conjunctions. All right, okay, so example sentence. Now my father was taking a bath when the doorbell rang. Okay, so what was the activity that was going on? The activity which was going on, which was continuing, that was taking a bath. Okay, when the doorbell rang, so the interruption is, this is the interruption. Okay, this is the interruption. All right, the doorbell rang. So how do we say it? My father was taking a bath when the doorbell rang. So this is simple past. Okay, and this is past continuous. All right, as simple as that. So we'll do more of that later. So I'm just giving you an overview here. Okay, let's do type 3 now. Type 3 criteria: habitual action in the past. So habitual, this is not used quite often, but still you must know it. So habitual action, something which was happening. Like you can say, if you talk about right now, so if I ask you what's your hobby, so you can say I play cricket, right? So I'm talking about that hobby which was there in the past, but it is not now. Okay, so the habit has ended. Okay, as far as you know. Okay, so example sentence: Jenny was working hard in her young days. So Jenny was working hard, so she was working hard. So this is our, what it is, it was continuity, continuity in past, right? In past. So in her young days, so she used to work hard in her young days, but not anymore. So for to show the habitual action, we can also use used to. Okay, so we are not concentrating on that, just want to let you know. So used to is also used in place of past continuous. Generally this is used actually. Okay, so Jenny was working hard in her young days. So when she was young, she used to work hard. Maybe she's not working hard these days. Okay, okay, so now we are done with the overview that when and why actually we should use past continuous tense. Okay, so what about how to use it? Okay, how to make sentences, how to form sentences, that is actually quite important, right? So we have subject here. Subject means who is taking the action, the person who is taking the action, who is taking action. So actually this is noun. Okay, this is actually not noun, means name, place, animal, thing, right? Name, generally it comes with name, place, animal, thing. So if we talk about even the places also covered in that. So if I say places are also covered in this in subject. So suppose I say California, so California is a subject if you want to talk about it. All right, so land, so land is also subject. Okay, so those come under subject as well. Okay, so singular means one. Okay, so what do you mean by one subject or singular subject? Okay, so like I can say leaf, leaf. Okay, so if I say this leaf, leaf is singular, right? If I say leaves, so that will become plural here. Okay, so now if we are talking about singular, so an example is leaf, so we have to use was with that. Okay, so was means suppose leaf was, so we can say the leaf was there on the street. Okay, so the leaf was. So with I, he, she, it, you, we, they. Now you see this I, he, she, it, you, we, they, those are actually pronouns. Okay, so I, he, she, it, you, we, they are pronouns. Pronouns. All right. Okay, so with I we use was, I was, he was, she was, it was. Okay, with plural, like I have given an example here, leaves, where you can say maybe houses. Okay, books, you can use plural, those are actually plurals. Okay, so plurals, you, we, they, we use were. So books were very heavy. So right, so books were. But here if we talk about past continuous, so we can say books were falling. Okay, books were falling. Okay, so with you we use were, we were, they were. All right, so do remember that this is very important. Okay, so now let's get to the formulae. This was a part of formulae, but now we have to cover hardcore formulae here. Okay, so okay, now about positive sentences. Okay, so we make negative sentences, positive sentences, and interrogative sentences as well, right? So for those we have different formulae so that you do not have any confusion. Okay, after you are done watching this video. So about positive sentences, we use subject. I have already told you what it means, the person who is taking the action or thing, whatever it is. Okay, so now was or were. So if you see this slash means you can either use was or were as per the subject, as per our subject. Okay, so if the subject is singular, you will use was. If the subject is plural, you will use were. Okay, then verbs first forms. So it's verbs first form. Verb means action words. All right, so these are action words. So we have three forms of verbs. Okay, so verbs first form is there, but with ing we always use first form. If we have to use ing, then we always use verbs first form, not the verb second form nor the verb third form. All right, so plus object means if we are taking any action, what is getting affected, who is getting affected. Okay, so we can say what is getting affected, or maybe we are talking about a place. Okay, about a place where they are. So place where it is happening. Okay, and it is generally at the end of our sentence where it is happening, or where it was happening, I will say. So where it was happening. Okay, so what was getting affected. All right, so now subject plus was a verb plus was first form ing plus object. Okay, the children were playing in the garden. Okay, so the children, if we see here, the children means subject, sub in short. Were is our helping verb. So these actually are helping verbs, which tell us which tense it is. Okay, which tell us which and it also actually emphasizes if it is present, past, or future. Okay, so the children were playing in the garden. So playing was first form ing, so our first form is play. In the garden is what? Object. Okay, and it is not necessary to, I mean, if you are into studies, okay, so if if it's your schoolwork, so of course you have to know all that. But if you have to learn it if you are learning it to speak, okay, so if you want to improve your English, okay, so you don't need to worry about that. You just need to worry about how to frame the sentences. Okay, so now the second example sentence: he was watching a movie while I was cooking. Okay, now you see this, the children is plural, so we are using were as a helping verb. Now here he is singular, right? Singular subject, so singular means single, one, singular subject. So we are using was as our verb, helping verb, sorry. So watching is our verb's first form, then ing. A movie while I was cooking, with I we use was, so that's why we are using was. Okay, so he was watching a movie while I was cooking. So maybe what happens that maybe you were talking to your mother. So mother, I called you, why didn't you pick up the phone? And neither did the father. Okay, so you can say he was watching a movie while I was cooking. Okay, so it can be one of them. Okay, so all right, so or if we talk specifically about this, it can be what was Papa doing. Okay, what was Papa doing while you were cooking? So he was watching a movie while I was cooking, so she can say that. Okay, so about negative sentences. Okay, so before we jump to that, I would like to ask you this here. So what do you think, what kind of type is this? Okay, what kind of past continuous is this? So the children playing in the garden, so this is type 1. So this is type 1. And about he was watching a movie while I was cooking, so while is here. Now you see this while, this is our connector, this is our signal word, and this is type 2. All right, okay, so now the negative sentences, the formula here of the negative sentence. So subject plus verb, everything remains the same, we just have to add not after our helping verb. Okay, so now you see here not. Okay, so do remember we have to use not after the helping verb before the verb. All right, so that is to remember, otherwise your sentence will be incorrect. The police were not trying to nab the thief. Nab means to catch. Okay, so the police, now again plural, so were not trying to nab the thief. So maybe you are talking to an authority, so and you are complaining um, against the police of that particular city. Okay, so you can say, hey, you know what, I'm really annoyed that the police were not trying to nab the thief. Okay, so the police, now after this helping verb we are using not, so not, then trying to nab the thief, everything remains the same. Okay, everything else remains the same there. Now the second sentence, they were not hanging out with each other a lot in 1983. So they is again plural, so we are using were. So do remember that specifically. Not hanging out with each other means not playing. Now they are not hang out means play with each other, right? So hanging out with each other a lot in 1983. Okay, so they used to hang out means like they used to play with each other a lot, they used to go to cinema halls maybe, so they used to have some fun together. Okay, so hanging out could be like having fun together. So they were not hanging out with each other a lot in 1983. So maybe they are doing it now, but they were not hanging out at that particular moment in that year. All right, so again, so this if you talk about they were not hanging out with each other a lot in 1980, so this is type 3. And if you talk about the police were not trying to nab the thief, this is type 1. So again, do remember the subject. If the subject is singular, we have to use was. If the subject is plural, we have to use were. Okay, and you have to know that, you have to remember that. Another mistake that I actually come across, what people make, is that they actually start noticing the later part of the video, later part, sorry, not the video, the later part of the sentence, later part of the sentence after the helping verb. So they start concentrating on what is here. If they see that the thief, oh, the thief is singular, so we have to use was. No, not at all. So you always have to concentrate on the part which is prior to the helping verb. Okay, and prior to the helping verb, what do we have? The police. The police, talk about it is what it is plural, then you will use were. Here if you say it's again plural, so you will use were. All right, as simple as that. So do not go to the later part of the helping verb. All right, it is quite important, so that mistake is quite common, I have noticed. Okay, what about interrogative sentences? So interrogative means questions. Okay, and here if we see WH, so WH means the words which we use to form questions, like why, what, where, when, who, whom, and it also covers how. So it's CWH. All right, I hope I haven't missed any, so but you have got the idea. Okay, so here WH, and if you see the slash here, now slash shows that you can either use WH to form a question, okay, or you can just start with the helping verb. Okay, so of course we have to use the helping verb if you are even if you are using WH, but if you are not using WH words, still you have to use the helping verb. You can start your question with the helping verb only. All right, you can, if you can hide that. Okay, I hope that is clear. And so WH plus was or were plus subject. Now the helping verb comes before the subject, so here the helping verbs come after the subject. All right, so that is a thing to notice. So subject plus was first form plus ing plus object, then question mark. Of course, do remember to put that if you are writing it. Okay, and yes, here, so which music were you listening to last night? So which music, so which, see WH, oh we missed that, so now see, it's great. So which, which music were you listening to last night? So which is here, then we are using this. Were you listening to last night? Now, some of you must have noticed that we are using were here. So you can say, oh, I said that the music, if we have to concentrate on the prior part of the what of the helping verb, right? But here we are referring to actually the subject, so we always go as per the subject. So subject is coming after the helping verb, so we have to concentrate on that. All right, we have to concentrate on the subject. Who are we talking about? That's what we have to remember. All right, so which music were you listening to last night? So which music were you listening? So if you're talking about that, so if you answer it, so I was listening to, so you'll say I was listening to maybe Britney Spears. All right, so I was listening to rap, whatever. Okay, so which music were you listening to last night? So here, so you are actually asking somebody. Okay, so that's why you are using, and of course you have to remember that you have to go as per the subject, and subject is after the helping verb. All right, again here, the next sentence, was it snowing when you arrived home? So was it snowing? So was, so we have started the word with the helping verb, with one of the helping verbs here. So was it snowing? So was, subject is it, snowing when you arrived home. So when you arrived home. All right, that is our object. So was it snowing? So was it, so it is our subject, so we have to concentrate on that. So that's why we are using was. Okay, as per our subject is singular, so we are using was. So yes, you can say then, yes, it was snowing when I arrived home. All right, so if we see here, which music were you listening to last night? That is type 1. And was it snowing when you arrived home? This is type 2. Okay, so again, you are not supposed to write that, you're not supposed to know which type, you just need to speak. Okay, you just need to understand how to write. Okay, so now we are done with everything here, but now we have to jump to the exceptions. What do we mean by exceptions? So all the rules we have learned would be applied every time. Okay, but there are some exceptions, means there are some words, okay, on which this past continuous is not applied. So we cannot use past continuous tense if we are using these words. Okay, to a particular context. Okay, it depends on your sentence. Okay, and what you mean. So I will tell you that now. So there are some verbs which are not generally used in past continuous, as they are not generally called action verbs. These are verbs, but they are not actually action verbs. Okay, but they describe state, sense, desire, possession, and emotions. All right, so some of them mean, some of the words are depend, hate, know, like, mean, need, prefer, realize, suppose, want, understand, own, believe, belong, and love. These are the same words which I have kept here, which were there in present continuous. All right, okay, so one of the sentences here, I was not hearing you well. Okay, I was not hearing you well. So if you are using this sentence, okay, if you are saying this is incorrect, so you would rather say I did not hear you well. Okay, I did not hear you well. Suppose you were talking to somebody, and then you need to, you just hung up because you could not hear the person. So the next day you are calling. Okay, so you suppose you are talking right now, hey, why did you hang up? So I asked, why did you hang up my call yesterday? And you say, oh, I did not hear you well. So you will not say I was not hearing you well. All right, because hearing is actually not an action. You are not trying to hear something. Okay, so You do not try, it happens. Okay, so you'll say I did not hear you well. So listen is actually an activity which you do, that is an action. Okay, so again, do remember, so there are these words, there are a bunch of the words which you have to remember, which you will not be using as present continuous in present continuous. All right, so okay, so I would like to make a video on this as well, maybe a dedicated video on this. So we'll see that. Okay, situation. Here we have, suppose when can you use it? Okay, so there's a situation which I have here. So suppose you are recalling your old days. So one of the days which we are mentioning here is maybe you were on a beach. Okay, so and you enjoyed that day and you are just recalling that day. Okay, so situation is the sun. Now you are actually talking to yourself, or you are telling somebody. Okay, okay, the sun was shining in the sky. Okay, the sun was shining in the sky and the birds were flying. I loved what I was seeing. A few joggers were running up and down the beach. Some fishermen were coming back from the night's fishing. I was watching everything cheerfully and did not want to go back home. See, lots of past continuous there, past continuous sentences. So the sun was shining in the sky. So he was sitting at that time and he was looking at the sky. So he said the sun was that day the sun was shining in the sky and the birds were flying. So the sun was shining in the sky, right? So this could be type 1, and if it were flying, type 1 again. All right, I loved what I was seeing. So again, type 1. So he loved it, what he was witnessing, so what he was watching. So a few joggers were running up and down. So there were few joggers. Okay, so there were few people who were running up and down the beach. So that is again type 1. Okay, some fishermen were coming back from the night's fishing. Okay, so there were some fishermen. So fishermen usually go at night to fish. Okay, so they were coming back home while he was sitting there on the beach. So again, this is type 1. So I was watching everything cheerfully and did not want to go back home. So the person actually loved everything what he was seeing there, so he did not want to go back home. So witnessing everything is actually again watching everything is actually type 1 too. So see, generally we have seen that it is type 1. Okay, and again, if we talk about interruption, that will be type 2, and that is used quite often as well. Okay, so it's not here, so but it is used quite often. Okay, and yeah, that's it. Okay, so I hope this was easy to understand, and it is not so difficult if you follow all the rules which I have mentioned here. All right, and you will be really good to go. Okay, it's not so difficult at all. Just do remember to keep practicing and keep speaking in English. So just make an environment, and you just have to speak. If you don't speak, it will again, you will forget everything, even if you have all the ideas now. So if you don't practice, then again, so that will be a trash again. So we do not want that. All right, okay, then before I go, I would say that do remember to subscribe the channel, like and share the video. All right then, bye bye, take care.